Guys, I'm super excited to introduce you to Ann Fry. Many of you that have followed me for years probably know Ann from her being such a well-known culture expert in Austin, Texas. Ann recently announced that she is stepping back. She's retiring, dealing with some personal health issues that are going to prevent her from continuing the work. But before she actually took that final step, I wanted to make sure that we got her on the Ripple Effect podcast. Ann is one of these people that you meet and you just are enamored with immediately. She's been a culture expert. She has taught master classes at NYU. She is an incredible coach and consultant. And one of the people that really was instrumental in my career early on. When I first brought out the Ripple Effect book, I was really unsure of myself. I was really not 100% sure that what I had to say really mattered one way or the other. And she took me by the hand and she said, look, you have something to contribute to this world. You have an enthusiasm and an energy that you have to share. You've got things to teach, things to do, and I don't want to see you try to be something that you're not. I want you to be you. And I remember that moment. I can still see the meeting room that we were in and how she was one of the first people that gave me permission to not try to fake it till I make it, just make it. And I owe her an incredible debt of gratitude. She is such a huge influence on my life, and I'm so grateful to know her and call her a friend. And I can't wait for you to meet her because she is tremendous. She has wit, wisdom, and she's funny as hell. I just tell you right off the bat. So with no further ado, let's meet Ann Fry. Guys, I'm super excited to have Ann Fry join us for the Ripple Effect podcast. Ann, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm excited to talk to you. It's been a while. I
It's been
was
a long
thinking
time.
the last time we had we saw each other in person, it was well before COVID. In fact, I think it was well before you moved to New York.
New
And
York.
you've since come back. You're living in Lago Vista, Texas now. But I'm so grateful to have kept tabs on you and stayed in touch all these years because, as I was saying, you had a really pivotal impact on my life when I first met you. I don't know if you recall this, but we met at an event I was speaking at for coaches, and you came up to me and said you really appreciated my message. You really liked what I had to share, but you said you sensed I wasn't being fully there. And I was like, what? What does that mean? And
Wow.
you said, you took me by the hand and you said, I feel like somebody has told you have to do it a certain way. And you are funny and you've got wit. I can see it. And you've got a sparkle in your eyes. These are words I remember you sharing. And you have to bring the authentic version of yourself every time you speak. So don't let anybody else tell you
Wow.
what to do. Do it the way you need to do it. Make it happen the
Wow.
way you need to make it happen. And you don't
Wow.
realize at that point in my life, I needed to hear those words so badly. So I wanted to have you on the podcast to thank you for that, of course. But most importantly, just to let you know, you are an example of a Rippler in such a big way.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate hearing that. I
Of
do.
course.
Yeah. I love it when I can make a difference for someone.
You've
Yeah,
done that a lot. You've done your entire career has been that. I mean, you are
that's true.
one of the foremost people that I think of when when a difficult situation's occurring or a team culture challenge, that I might face with one of my consulting clients. I think about the work that you do and how you've guided and directed me, whether you realized it or not, to really help dig in and understand what's really the heart of the matter. And I remember you and I having conversation over a coffee, probably a couple of years after we first met. And you had said, almost everything comes down to a people problem. How do you motivate? How do you inspire? How do you lead them? But you really have to, as a leader, be able to get into the weeds with them and be able to learn what it takes to really
Mm.
get to know them. That's where you build loyalty. That's where you build trust. And it's so true in everything that we think about. Every action that we take, relative to leading or connecting or engaging comes down to our ability to connect with other people. And you do it so effectively and so well.
Oh, gosh, that's amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, I wanted to have you on the podcast because you recently have decided to retire. And I wanted to have this conversation because you, not only do I want to just pour accolades on you because I'm such a huge fan, but because you're such a special person, right? But I also wanted to get into one of the reasons as to why after such a long career and making such a huge impact, that you're kind of deciding now's the time to, to make a change.
Well, actually, it wasn't by choice. It was really more by circumstance. And it's not exciting for me to share it. But on the other hand, if I can share this, other people cannot be ashamed of what's going on with them. I've always been open and I continue to do so. Um, about a year and a half ago, I realized that there was something going on with me that was just a little fuzzy. And we went to see a doctor and actually a psychiatrist, and he had me do some testing. And he figured out that I had um, sort of, there's a specific label for it, which I can't remember right now, but that I'm on the way to having some kind of brain injury where
Mm.
I'm not going to be able to remember a lot of things. So, sort of like right now, I can't even remember the word for that. What's the word for that? I'm on the
Dementia or
dementia. Yeah,
early
that I'm
onset? Yeah.
pre-dementia.
Yeah.
Yeah, early onset dementia, and that scared the you know what out of me.
Yeah.
Not that I could do anything about it. It's just what it is. And as we were walking out the door after a couple of appointments with him, we were walking. We meaning Jim, my other side. We were walking out the door, and he said, "You know, Anne, you're going to have to stop working." And I burst into tears as we walked out the
Oh,
door because my work has been my work for a long time, from the early days of special ed teaching and then running drug and alcohol treatment centers and then becoming this coach and kind of funny person. And that was the worst thing you could have said. I mean, even
yeah.
though I'm in my 70s, I said, I'm not ready to retire.
Yeah.
And I walked out of there in tears. And then
Oh,
I decided, well, I might as well be open about it like I've been open about everything else in my life. And so I kind of published it. I kind of said, not a book, but I
yep.
put it online to people I knew. And I said, this is what you need to know. This is why I'm not working anymore. And I'm going to keep you in the know as things progress.
Yeah. Well, I was shocked when I read that post, and certainly saddened, but knew that knowing you as I do, there's a lot of fight left, and you're going to battle
You
this
bet.
as hard as you possibly can. My mom suffered with early onset dementia, really, probably more years than anybody would care to admit. She not a great home life in my house. She had some depression challenges and some issues. Unlike you, she wasn't active and engaged and fully vested in any type of work, which I think didn't help. But that really morphed into a long battle with Alzheimer's, and so I've seen it. I know it. I know the challenges that you're facing, and I want you to know I'm here and as a resource to you in any capacity, because it's a tough it's a tough situation to be facing, but I know that you have a good support system. I know you have the will to continue to battle it, and I have no doubt that you probably will lick this thing in some capacity, just knowing you the way I do.
Well, maybe they'll have a better cure in a couple of
Yeah,
years and then I'll be able to bounce back. We'll see. But
yeah.
let's go out to lunch and talk about that.
I would love that. I would love that for sure. Well, for my audience, I would love to give them a perspective of what led you down the path for your work, because I'd like to get a sense of your
Hmm.
origin story, because it's fascinating.
Hmm.
And I've got to tell everybody, not only is it that you focus on this really important and serious work, but you do it with such a grace and sense of humor. You're incredibly funny, and that almost led you down a different path too, right? I think you could have been like a stand-up comedian, and really focus your efforts to be one of the greats, because you're so witty. But how did Anne Fry become Anne Fry?
Well, we could spend all day talking about that, but I came from a broken family. My father left when I was pretty young, and my mom raised myself and my brother. And I don't know, when I went to college originally, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think I did pre-social work because I knew I wanted to do something to help people. And I was an average student. But then when I was finally ready to go to graduate school and get my degree in social work, um, something happened, a flip went off, and I don't know how it happened, but my proudest thing is that I became head of my class. I got all A's, and I said, okay, I've really found myself. And
Yeah.
I started working as a social worker, and I worked in drug and alcohol treatment centers. I even ran some. I taught in some universities. I'm very I'm very talkative, so if this wasn't half an hour, we'd be going for about 5 hours, right? But but it just led me in that direction. And then I went into, like I said, private practice for a long time. And then the last several years, the years probably that I knew you the best, were
Yep.
when I was out speaking and wrote a couple books. And I don't know, I've been very, very blessed. I think I'm the most accomplished in my family. Nobody bought my books, by the way, but I wrote them. That was the important part, because it's like people like you knew me, but most people didn't know me. But I was proud, and so when I found out I couldn't do that anymore, I mean, I could continue to try to counsel, I guess, if I wanted to, but I knew that my brain wasn't working right. I could already tell that people would say thing, and I'd say, well, can you say that again? I can't remember what you said. And I knew that I didn't have the skills or the capability of being able to give them good treatment. That
Uh,
doesn't mean that occasionally somebody doesn't call up and say, can I talk to you for a few minutes or whatever? My last contract was about a year ago. I had to fly to El Paso and do a training, and I took Jim with me, my partner,
yep.
and we gave them a good training, and then that was my last hurrah. I cried the whole
Uh,
way home on the plane. But I don't know, what was the rest of your question?
well, yeah. I mean, just the origin of what led you down the path. So let me offer a follow up. What was it about helping people that really lit you up inside? Why was that the thing?
Well, I knew that throughout the years, things were tough for me. So I would go into therapy myself
Yeah.
and have good therapists along the way. And, if you can't believe in that, I've met a few very arrogant therapists in my time that, well, they've never been in therapy, but they're,
Yeah.
they're doing it with other people. So I just always knew that if people helped me the way they did, then maybe I could help other people that way.
Yeah. Talk about the ultimate ripple. I mean, you have done that in so many ways, and just I know that night when you first approached me, you probably didn't have a realization or necessarily even thought much about what you were sharing, but that came at a pivotal time in my life where I was like, what am I doing? I don't even know why I'm doing this. I shouldn't be doing it. I'm an introverted, shy guy, have no business being in front of this group of strangers, especially professionals like yourself. And what could I contribute? And you just had this way of cutting through all the BS and saying, look, you've
That's
got
true.
something to share. And, I sense that I felt like I had done a good job speaking, but I did feel like I was following a prescriptive methodology. I think I had gotten a speaking coach at that point, and she was trying to mold me into a certain approach and
Yeah.
handle things a certain way. And you were kind of like, man, don't do that. You
Just be yourself. Just
just
be
be
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly.
I love that about you. And the one thing I've always respected and admired about you, and which makes you very good at the work you do, is you tell it like it is. There's no sugarcoating. If you're
No.
going to fix something, the only way to fix it is to address it.
No, I'm pretty straight. That's true. I mean, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Now, sometimes I might couch it and say, look, I'm about to say something you might not want to hear, but hear me out.
Sure.
So I don't want any backlash. But yeah, it's just sort of natural. And I don't know, I wasn't funny as a kid. In terms of stand up, I always had a fantasy of doing it. I still think so. And this will sound really kind of weird. I really want to get on stage and be kind of dirty in my humor. It's like I'm this old woman, and look at the things that I can say.
Oh, I
But I
love it.
haven't had the but I haven't had the courage because I don't have the capability of memorizing.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'll stand up there with my little note cards and I'll read my jokes. Maybe someday I'll still do it, and don't worry, I'll give you a front row seat.
If you do it, I will be there, and I'll be there with bells on. I promise you, because yeah,
And bring a whole crowd, right?
exactly. Well, because I remember we met at some place. For those that aren't from Austin, we have a place called the Domain, and there's all these shops and kind of great places to eat. And at the time, I think it was a little tea shop that's no longer there. But we met because we were trying to find a place, I think, in the middle to meet, and you and I had connected and. I just remember us talking, and we didn't really have a particular agenda, but every observation that you had about things going on just had this really funny bit. You just kept me in stitches the whole time, which was really
Really?
it was great. Yeah.
I hate to burst your bubble, but I don't remember. So it's part
It's okay. I
it's
do, and
okay.
so but you always struck me as somebody funny, and I think that's what you could do well as a coach, right? Something that you
I
had to
did.
talk about, something that was highly tense, maybe
That's true.
challenging, like you said,
That's
something that
true.
they may not want to hear, but they needed to hear it, and then you could always soften that blow with something witty or humorous that really helped drive that point home. And I think that's a skill. I mean, that's just a
I
magical skill.
It does come, I think, coming from a broken family and the kind of dynamics that we had and all that kind of jazz. I just sort of developed that. I certainly never studied anything about how to be funny, and I was pretty serious most of my life. But as I became an adult, it's like, I don't know, it's just there. I don't know why. It's just there. And
It
it's
was
going to
a
serve me
skill.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going
I
to
love
serve me
that. I
well.
love that about you. I mean, I think that, I have never considered myself particularly funny, funny looking for sure, but without
No
question, not,
comment. No.
yeah. Yeah.
No,
I
you look
mean,
great to me.
if you need a laugh, just look at this thing right here. That's all you need.
Oh, come
But
on. Your family doesn't see you that way. Your family
uh,
doesn't see you that
I
way.
appreciate that. I was at a speaking event the other day, and I was, I told people that I'm not naturally funny or try to be humorous. I'm not one of these guys that gets up because I'm following your advice. Be myself. Do what I do. And there's occasionally just some shit that comes out of my mouth that gets people just roaring. And I don't realize I'm doing it at the time that I do it, but I'm doing it, right? And
Yeah.
I had somebody come up and say, I call BS on half the things you said. You said you're shy, you're introverted, and you're not funny. You're a liar, sir. And I'm like, oh well, okay, maybe. Sorry,
What does
but
your family think? What does your family think? Do they
oh, they
think you're
don't think I'm
funny?
funny at all. They think I have the maturity level of about a 5-year-old, which to me is funny.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's good, actually.
Absolutely. No, I have the occasion to keep my wife in stitches, and my boy is just like, oh God, Dad, please, please don't talk.
Please
So
don't do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
No. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
so let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about the books that you wrote. I mean, tell us a little bit about that, and are they still accessible from your website or through Amazon?
Or through me. No, they're
Okay.
not
Yep.
through, they're not on Amazon,
Okay.
but
Okay.
one was called 60 Sexy, Sassy, and Free, a real woman's story of
Yep.
reinvention, because at age 60, I had gotten divorced. And I thought, I don't have to stay here. My kid, I can get him planes and visit him. I
Yeah.
only have one. And so I moved to New York at 60. And then, and then I went through a not so funny time when I had breast cancer. That was
Yeah.
soon after I got there. I went through that just fine, thank heavens. Um, but I stayed there for 10 years and I came back here just because my kid was, I think, ready to get married. He'd found the girl and now they're married and they have a 4 year old. So I'm a
Ah.
70 something year old woman with a 4 year old grandson, but it's a blast. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really great. What else? What else did you ask me? I
Well,
don't remember
yeah, no
already.
worries. Just asking about the books and if
Oh,
they're
the
still
books.
accessible. You wrote a book on surviving breast cancer too, right? The lessons learned.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
And then I wrote some kind of a workshop on how to reinvent yourself,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah. So I don't even have a website anymore, but if anybody's interested, they can email me directly,
Okay.
and I'll tell them the books, and I'll give it to them for free if they want them. Some of
No,
them I don't have extra copies of, but some of them I do.
and
So
your
all you have
and
to do is
we'll post this, but your email at annfry.com is still the
correct.
one you
That's
check daily.
yeah. I
Okay.
pay to keep that name, right? I
Okay.
do. I don't have a website anymore, but I pay to keep that name,
Yeah, that's great. Well,
so anybody could ask me.
let me ask you this question. I mean, so this new reality that you're facing, and
Hmm.
as you think about it and you take on this battle, what is it teaching you right now?
Well, I'm scared to death for one thing. I know that. In some ways, I'm not so fun as I usually am to be around. I have days when I'm in bed a lot because I also have fibromyalgia and a couple
Oh,
of other autoimmune diseases, so they keep me down. I have some days when I'm really tired and don't feel good or my body hurts. Um, teaching me to be patient, I guess, patient with what I can and cannot do. It's um it's teaching me that I have to keep my sense of humor because otherwise I'll be crying all the time.
Right.
Um, it's teaching me that there are people out there in the world that really care about me and check on me. So that's really cool. Um, and I don't know, there's good and bad days. There's some bad days when I say, boy, I don't want to hang around very long because I don't
Yeah.
want to feel bad for very long. On the other hand, I've got a 4-year old, I got to watch him grow up. I've
Yeah.
got to get him. I figure if I can see him through his first girlfriend, I'll be happy.
That's a great goal. That's a great milestone. I love that.
Yeah, that's like 10 more years maybe if I could do
Yes.
that. But I want to know who I am. I don't want to go
Sure.
into the really bad side where I won't know who I am and they won't know who he is.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I kind of worry about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck someplace. Jim, my partner, says, "You will never be stuck anyplace. You will be here with me," which is
Uh,
wonderful. We've been together about 6 or 7 years now. I don't know who's counting, but I live with him and he's a great caretaker. He's a
yeah.
therapist too by training. He's still in private practice. And we laugh a lot. We have a lot in
Uh,
common. We share he's got several grandkids, but I've just got this one. And it's I just look at the things that I have to be here for
yep.
and grateful for every day.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. If you were going to give some advice to someone who might be either from a caregiver perspective or even maybe someone that has, faced a recent diagnosis like yourself, what would you tell them? What would you like to share with them?
Well, I'd like to share with them to be patient, which I'm not, but I'm working on. Um, always working on something. Um, I've I'd like to tell them that sometimes the things that they should be doing, you're not. Like I used to be a voracious reader. I'm not reading very much. I can't concentrate enough to read, but I listen to books on tape. I can still drive, thank heavens. I don't know if the rest of the world is saying that, but I can still get myself places. Jim
Good.
said, the first time you call me up and say, I don't know where I am, that's the day you give up your car. And I said, but I
Yeah.
have a GPS. He said, it doesn't matter. You still have to give that up.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I try to go a day at a time. And, that saying is rather trite, but I think it's a good thing to follow. So on a bad day, if I need to stay in bed, I stay in bed. On a good day, I'm up and about. If Jim's got clients all day, I get in my car and I go shopping, which is not a good habit. Um, not a good habit
Yeah.
because I'm not making money anymore either. I
Yeah.
have a wonderful guy that takes care of me, but I still have my own bills and um, it's not fun to live on Social Security, I'll tell you that.
No, no.
That's tough, but it is what it is. So yeah, I try to be funny. Um, I try to stay in touch with people that I know care about me. And I'm grateful for a chance to talk like this and see if it does any good for other people. It's
Yeah.
making you laugh.
It is. It is. Absolutely. You have that uncanny ability though anyway. So you've got that. That's a great power.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
So what
so
else can I answer for you?
let me shift gears a little bit and ask you a few Ripple connection questions. I mean, it's been a few years since you rippled with me. So are you
That's
open to it?
true.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Well, I was going to ask you what do you think your superpower is?
I'd say my sense of humor.
Yeah.
I think so because people don't expect it. Because I can be very, very serious and I can get very down in the dumps, and then all of a sudden I'll say something funny and everybody will laugh. So I think that's a superpower for me, and I think it's also helpful for them, even if they don't know how to talk to me or what to say, it breaks the ice.
Yeah. Oh, I love
So I
that.
think that's a
Absolutely.
superpower.
That is a great superpower, and I agree. That's definitely one of your certain skills and strengths, without question. You've
And
been
it's
in a
gotten better. It's
yeah,
gotten better. I don't know why. I guess because I'm not working. I'm just sort of whatever comes out of my mouth. I don't have to, and I'm a bit of a cusser, so I have to be careful. And I don't have to worry about doing that in front of clients anymore, right? Just
exactly.
people that
Now you
know
can
me.
just let it fly. I love it.
That's right.
We may just have to do an R-rated version of this show
I
one
was
time and
gonna
just let's just go
say,
to town, right?
now let's just go to lunch and we can say whatever we want.
I love it. It's a date. We definitely will do that. You
Okay.
you have been a entrepreneur for a long time. and doing what
Yeah.
you've done in so many, capacities. I mean, you really carved your own path in your own way in the world. What do you take away from that experience, just as a whole, when you look back on your career? What do you view there?
Well, it's actually unbelievable to me because I came, from a single mom. My dad left very young. I think I was 4. Um, And although he did pay some money to her, she always struggled. I always had to take loans in school and pay them back. I never had money. I never made a lot of money because I didn't get to the point where I wanted to charge $5,000 for a speech. It's just not me.
Yeah, yeah,
I would take what they would offer. And my clients, if they couldn't pay, because I had that sense of remembering what it was like not to have money. And so, and I don't now very much, except Jim does. So that's a good thing.
that's yeah.
That's a good. Um, but ask the question another way,
Just when you reflect back on your career, what do you think about that? I mean, what impressions are left with you about the work that you did?
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe. I mean, I had my dad had 5 kids altogether from 3 different wives,
Wow.
and I'm the most successful of them all. My younger sister has a degree, and she worked in a company. I'm the only one that like worked for myself. After my first couple of jobs, I worked for myself,
Yeah.
and I didn't have a role model for that, and I didn't have a husband that made a lot of money. So somehow I had that entrepreneurial attitude that I don't even know where it came from. Just that I loved my work, and I wasn't so rigid that people couldn't see me if they
Yeah.
wanted to or couldn't hire me if they wanted to. I know plenty of speakers, and I don't want to offend you because I don't know what you charge, but I know plenty of speakers that say, well, you can have me if you've got $10,000. And I thought $10,000 would never roll off my tongue very
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
I think 5 was the highest I ever got. Not $5, but I think 1 or 2 people paid me 5,000. But I remembered my humble beginnings, and I never took advantage. So that was probably part of it. And there were times that I would see people for free or do something charitable, speaking charitably or something like that. I think it kept me kind of grounded, maybe.
Yeah. I think so. I remember you and I kind of having a conversation about that. You put in it is very much the ripple, right? You put enough good things out there, it does come back to you. And that's at the time when you were in Austin prior to your New York move. I remember you, really sort of driving that point home to me, and that a lot of the efforts that you've made, maybe there was no short-term payback, or no
Right.
return on investment, but you were getting fulfillment. You were contributing to people's lives, helping them where they needed it, and that was starting to come back to you by way of other opportunities. They had risen through their career ranks, and now they wanted to work with you directly. Or as you were, putting out that book, that you were talking about being 60, and you were moving into that phase of your life, and that there was so much still left to do. People were coming back and rediscovering you, and those were a lot of ripples you created from years back that were starting to come back in positions now to really be able to take
Yeah,
advantage of your work.
I really think that's true. I mean, um, you are who you are, and if you try to become somebody that you aren't, they pick it up in a moment.
They
And
do.
so, there were a lot of people that I wanted to be friendlier with, but for them, it was all about money. It wasn't about contribution, perhaps is the better word.
Yeah.
So I don't know. By the way, I'll bring you my books when I see you.
Okay. I would love that. I would love that very much. I've
But you
got
have to buy
one,
lunch.
I've got the latest one that you had released. So, but I would love to I didn't get it autographed because you were in New York. So
Okay, okay.
I'd love another
Yeah.
copy, because I know somebody I'd like to ripple one onto for sure.
Which
But
one is that? Which is the latest
the
one?
sexy and I don't have the
The si-
title.
oh, the 60 sexy one?
60 second. Yes, that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
because
plenty of those
we
on my
actually
shelf.
you didn't know this at the time, but when I was doing the live 8 minute ripple events, we would do book giveaways from my friends, right? So I would often have authors that
Uh,
I knew that are like, if you don't know this, and that ended up with a friend of mine that was they had recently been laid off from the city of Austin, and she was trying to figure out
mm-hmm.
what she was going to do, and I'm like, you need to read Anne's book. This would be
Oh,
a perfect
sweet.
opportunity. Yeah, so she actually
Sweet.
won that. As the door prize for our 8 minute ripple. So I know
Oh,
it made an
cool.
impact. And in fact, I'm going to have to reach out to her and let her know I have you on the podcast. So
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
but yeah, I would love to own them. I'd love to have your signature on them because you're an important person to me.
Okay, I
So,
will do
what's
that.
the best piece of advice you've received in your life, and who did it come from?
Mm. It was hard, but the best thing was to just stay in the moment, really be with who you are. If you're feeling good, you're feeling good. If you're feeling bad, you're feeling bad.
Love it.
Don't act and pretend, just be who you are.
Oh, that's great. Who
That's why
taught
I
you?
decided to be public and
Yeah,
open
that
about
I mean,
this.
that's perfect. I mean, that's and you're the epitome of courage when it comes to that. Who did you get that advice from?
I don't know.
Okay,
Just came along the way.
somewhere
I don't
on,
have a
and
clue.
yeah, that's good. That's good. Where do you, with everything you have going on right now, where do you find your inspiration to keep moving forward? Is it in your grandson? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. My grandson and my son and my partner,
yeah,
actually. They all love me a lot. A lot of people love me. I'm lucky. Everybody says, "Oh, you'll be here at least 10 more years. Don't worry about it." It's
yeah,
like, yeah, well, only if I don't feel bad. If
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
bad consistently and get worse, I don't know about 10 years, but we'll say, a day at a time is always the best. All my years
Absolutely.
in the addictions world, a day at a time. I was never an addict, thank God, but it was the thing. You got to do everything a day at a time. So
That's
yesterday
right.
was a great day. I felt really good. Today is a great day. I'm talking to you, right? And later on, I'm gonna go talk to somebody else about something else. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, day at a time.
Well, I love that. I love that. What do you think is the most important thing in life?
Love.
Love, love that.
When my 4-year-old grandson comes in the house and sees me, oh my God, it's amazing. He comes running to me and he hugs me. He's the only one. They're not going to have another one. They're both in their 40s, and
Oh,
they started late, and it was also during the pandemic, and they said, I don't know if I want to bring another kid into the world right now. So that's it.
yeah.
And if I can have him around to make me laugh and hug me and kiss on me. Oh, and we have two dogs, one of which is still a puppy who would
Ah,
just not know what to do if I wasn't here. Well, he's about 2 now, but he's
ah.
laying here, right here on my body as I talk to you.
I love it. He's a
Yeah.
he's a special extra guest, I guess.
Yeah, I can see. Let's see if I can get his picture there.
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
see him? He's
Yep.
resting against
Oh,
me.
that's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, he's all curled up.
Well, so two final questions. What does the
All
ripple
right.
effect mean to you?
I've never really known that, but I would say off the top of my head that what you say bounces off of somebody else in a good way. How you create ripples beyond you so that maybe it makes a difference for other people. What
Uh,
does it mean to you?
any action, big or small, that makes an impact on another person, right? And it's those things that we do out there in life. When we contribute, we look beyond ourselves to actually contribute to somebody else. We're actually doing something pretty darn significant.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah,
agree. I know
yeah,
that I've made a difference for tons and tons of people over my lifetime,
yeah,
and that's good to know. And they know who I am, and I don't even remember who some of them are,
yeah,
especially now,
yeah.
especially now. But it's nice to know that for sure.
Ah,
You've done a lot of good in the world yourself, my friend.
thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
You
welcome.
you inspire me to do it and to be my true my true self out there.
That's so cool. I didn't, those stories are touching my heart for sure. You promise that you will call me in the next day or two so we can set a lunch date.
I absolutely will do that. I have one last
Okay.
question. And maybe this is it. What's a ripple I can create for you?
You can take me out to lunch.
Deal. That's an easy one.
Okay?
So,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I would love that. Well, and I will put a link to your well, to your. Do you want people to follow you on Facebook? Does that work?
Sure. But
Okay,
also, can people see this interview?
they will be able to. Yeah, we'll put the video up.
Okay, great. You'll tell me where that is.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, when we do it, it'll be a few weeks out before we get it done and edited, but
Okay.
yeah, it'll be out there, and then we'll post some links, and it'll be out on all the podcast platforms because this show actually is carried in
Oh,
a number of
fabulous.
platforms. Yeah, so
Maybe I
people
can
that are
sell a few more
listening
books.
to this show will get to hear you,
Yes.
and then people that want to see it can go to my YouTube and see the video and see you and see your dog,
Okay.
and yeah, this has been so much fun. I'm so absolutely grateful, mostly
Thank
because of
you.
your friendship and your support. You are an amazing woman, and I am sorry you're having to battle this, but you've got a lot of people that love you, myself
I
included,
do.
and we're going to be here to support you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, listen, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Everybody, we'll be back again with another episode of the Ripple Effect podcast. But until then, ripple on.
Bye.